So welcome to this second session in Unit 501, Managing People, where we're going to look at developing high-performance teams. First, I think we should just sort of think is, what is a high-performance team? Well, if we think of it in the sort of perspective of cars, then a Porsche and a Ferrari are high-performance cars, but not every car is a Porsche or a Ferrari. We've got some quite capable cars, Fiestas, Fiat 500s, etc. And similarly, not every team is a high-performing team. Many teams are just teams. We may like all our teams to be Porsches or Ferraris, or whatever car is best suited for that situation, because a Porsche or Ferrari is not very good at carrying lots of people if that's the main aim. But having high performing teams would make our jobs easier and make organizations into winners. So let's examine some of these things in this session, but first let's have a look at the objectives. So the overall aim for this session is to know how to develop high-performing teams. By the end of this session, you should be able to explain the process of setting objectives to developing high-performing teams, describe how to identify and address skills gaps within a team to meet team objectives, explain how the appraisal process can be used to develop a high-performing team, and explain the importance of collaboration between team members in developing a high-performing team, and then explain how to share knowledge and expertise to facilitate high performance. So we've talked about what a high performance team is when we've talked about comparing it with cars, but let's just clarify. We would probably all recognize the description on the screen, a simple description of a team, group of individuals who are independent, interdependent, and share responsibility and a common goal. But it's a little bit more than that when we talk about a high performance team. And one definition given is an interdependent, stable and role-defined group who share responsibilities, mutual trust and values while having strong internal leadership and clear focus on a common goal. And we'll be focusing on a couple of those areas, the trust, values. We'll be talking about internal leadership as we go through the session. So after confirming what a high-performance team is, setting objectives for one of those teams is not just about agreeing objectives that we will use as a performance tool, monitoring them. It's more about gaining their commitment, involving them, engaging them, empowering them to go and perform at the highest level. So they not only need to be SMART objectives, and more about that in a minute if you're not sure what the details of those are, but we need to follow some key steps. And the first step is that before getting into the specific details of their goals or objectives for the high-performing team, we need to spend time and ensure that there is a clear vision. They know the shape of the desired outcome, the future state, where the organisation's going, what its strategy and vision is. And this is about gaining acceptance for its attainability. They need to be sure that they're buying into it and it's going where they want to do. And to do this, we need to share and make sure it's understood, that organisational sort of strategy and aim and vision, and that's not often done. The second step is you need to be open and candid and discuss with them what their thinkings and feelings are about that, to ensure that they are clear about buying into it. We need to ensure that everyone's agenda is heard and explored and they have a chance to ask questions, ensure that any fears, beliefs, expectations that they have are genuine, and that we can agree a higher level agenda so that they can start forming in their own mind their own objectives towards meeting that agenda, that vision. And then step 3, it's being able to discuss with those team members, and this is a skill that the leader needs, that they can discuss the issues involved and make sure there is a better understanding from the team and the individuals about how their goals might have any concerns in them. So uncovering those concerns and deciding then is what's needed to support them to get through that. And then step 4 is finally it's about showing that the members know the exact steps, confirming them so they know what every person needs to do at which stage, so there's some sort of transparency there. It's about gaining a full commitment to those objectives of theirs and other people's, and by making these steps clear and what the next steps are and understanding the way things are going to be done, the leader is empowering the high performance team to move those steps forward and move towards the objectives of the organisation and the team. From that point, we're going to have to record those objectives, and then that's where we'll start breaking it down into work plans, and that's when we'll start agreeing individual objectives with each person in their one-to-ones. But the key to all that hard work is that we've got those objectives and that everybody was on board with them before we started splitting them down, and then we'll start looking at them being smart. So we're agreeing these objectives with our individuals and with our teams, and it's all about making sure that these objectives are smart. Smart's on the screen now. Hopefully you understand it, or you're all aware of it, but often we see places say, oh yeah, we sort of use smart objectives, and then when you look at them, they're not smart. Writing them is more difficult, and it needs to include the individuals in that process, and three key ones: it needs to ensure they are measurable, realistic and achievable, and we'll look at those in a bit more detail. So the first one we're going to pick out is measurable. How do we check it's measurable? What can we do? Well, we can ask ourselves some certain questions, and those are: what will success look like? Can we visualize it, and does it say that in the objective? So what we're talking about it looking like, does it actually state that in the objective? And what will it show, gain or prove? And will we be able to confirm it? And that final bit is really important. I've seen objectives where it's talked about measurable when the team are working better. How are we going to actually measure that? What is going to be the measure to confirm that and prove that that is true? And the next real key one is it achievable? And can we check it's achievable? We can ask ourselves some questions. Do you know that it's measurable? Was it measurable? So it makes us look back at the last one and make sure that it was. And if so, has it previously been achieved by anyone else? If it has, then we can look at how they did and what they did. If not, is it in principle possible? We don't want to be setting something that's totally unachievable. And then are the resources needed available? Or if not, is there some realistic chance of getting them? Will they be available? And then finally, are there any limitations that we've assessed and that we've minimized? So have we thought about any? So that gives us a rounded picture of if this smart objective is achievable. And finally, we need to be sure it's realistic. And we can do that by asking ourselves questions such as, is it possible to achieve the objective? Combining the two in front, really. Is it measurable, achievable? Is it realistic? And then, who is going to do it? And do they have the relevant authority? Can they do what we've asked them to do? I know that seems a stupid question, but you see so many where they haven't really got the ability or the control, because we need to check that they have the necessary skills or attributes to do the task well. No good in setting them up to fail. And then confirming on the achievable, are the resources available? And who will bear responsibility for what? We just need to check that they have the responsibility for all aspects, or are they going to be relying on someone else to do certain parts of it, or have the authority on certain parts? And if so, is it realistic to expect them to be the one held accountable for this objective? So, key questions we can ask ourselves to check that these smart objectives are measurable, achievable and realistic. Right then, got an activity to do now around objectives. There's a worksheet, and I want you to think about identifying your own objectives and the links to the strategic objectives, and then how they link in with the team and individual objectives. So you can complete the worksheet and upload that, and then there's some instructions on the site to watch a video about collaboration. Make some notes on that, and we'll be discussing that when we come back in the next part.